Insane black pastors who used God to buy private jets. They preach about sacrifice, humility, and faith, but step off private jets in designer suits and cruise in million-dollar cars. From Africa to America, some of the most powerful black pastors have turned pulpits into platforms for unimaginable wealth, leaving millions to wonder, is this divine blessing or holy deception? When the man of God owns multiple jets, while his congregation struggles to eat the line between ministry and money starts to vanish. Buckle up, because this story will shake everything you thought you knew about faith. Smash that like button, subscribe, and let's expose the truth together. Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams. Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, often called Papa by his devoted followers, is one of the most recognizable faces in African Christianity. As the founder of Action Chapel International in Accra, Ghana, he built one of the largest charismatic churches in West Africa, with a spiritual network extending to Europe, the United States, and beyond. Known as the father of the charismatic movement in Ghana, his influence is undeniable. Yet alongside his reputation as a powerful preacher and intercessor, he has attracted global attention for his bold embrace of prosperity and his open defense of private jet ownership. Unlike other ministers who shy away from conversations about wealth, Duncan Williams has consistently argued that financial prosperity is not a betrayal of Christian values, but a confirmation of them. In one widely circulated statement, he declared, "Owning a private jet is not a problem. How you get it and what you do with it are the issues one will be judged for." This comment set off waves of debate. Critics accused him of using the pulpit to justify opulence, while supporters insisted he was merely proving that divine favor comes with visible blessings. Over the years, social media and news outlets have captured him stepping off private aircraft, attending conferences, and arriving at crusades with the aura of a head of state. Videos from Facebook Live and local Ghanaian broadcasts show him boarding sleek jets, his arrival treated like that of a dignitary rather than a humble clergyman. His followers interpret these moments as proof that disciplined prayer and faith can open doors to extraordinary success. Skeptics, however, see a troubling blend of celebrity culture and spirituality, raising the uncomfortable question, should men of God live like kings, while many congregants struggle to make ends meet? Beyond the aircraft, Duncan Williams is also known for his sharp fashion sense, often appearing in bespoke suits and commanding the stage with a presence that feels more presidential than pastoral. He has become a symbol of prosperity preaching in Africa, shaping conversations about the relationship between money and ministry. His critics argue that the gospel of Christ was never meant to be about excess or material gain. Yet his defenders point to the large-scale charity work and ministry projects his church supports, insisting that without wealth such initiatives would be impossible. Whether viewed as a visionary or as a preacher entangled in luxury, Nicholas Duncan Williams has undeniably left his mark on the global Christian landscape. His name sparks admiration in some circles and outrage in others. But one thing is certain: when the history of African televangelism and prosperity preaching is written, his chapter will not be forgotten. For many, he embodies the very question that continues to divide the faithful. Can true spirituality and staggering wealth walk hand in hand? Or are they destined to collide? Prophet Passion Java. Prophet Passion Java, born Panganai. Java in Zimbabwe is one of the most flamboyant figures in the modern prosperity movement. Known to his loyal followers as Prophet Passion, he has carved out a ministry that looks as much like a celebrity brand as it does a church. From sleek designer suits to flashy convoys of exotic cars, Java has turned spirituality into a spectacle, earning both admiration and outrage in equal measure. What sets him apart is not simply his message, but the lifestyle he uses to embody it. In his world, every Maybach, Lamborghini, or Jaguar is not just a luxury purchase, but a prophetic statement. Reports show that at one point, he spent nearly $500,000 in a single stretch on a pair of Range Rover Vogues and a Jaguar XJ. For his birthday, he gifted himself a black Maybach, telling the world it was not a personal indulgence, but a blessing from God. To him, social media is the new pulpit, and each post of luxury is framed as evidence that divine favor has no limits. His style of ministry has been dubbed entertainment prophecy. Sermons are often delivered with humor, charisma, and dramatic predictions that spread like wildfire online. His Instagram and YouTube clips attract millions of views, often showing him stepping out of Lamborghinis flanked by security, as crowds cheer like fans at a concert. One viral moment captured him racking up a bar tab worth over 85,000 South African rand in a single night, laughing it off while his followers celebrated him as a man too blessed to stress. Do you believe a pastor should live like a celebrity if it inspires faith? Or does that blur the line between ministry and show business? But Passion Java's rise hasn't been without controversy. Critics accuse him of exploiting believers with a prosperity gospel that encourages financial seed sowing while he flaunts the rewards. Investigative blogs and whispers in Zimbabwean media have linked his name to political figures and even money laundering allegations, though he often dismisses these claims with humor or silence. To his supporters, such accusations are simply evidence that he is too impactful to ignore. Beyond cars and fashion, Java has invested in media ventures, launching gospel television channels and organizing stadium-sized crusades that double as entertainment spectacles. He markets himself as a miracle worker, prophet, and lifestyle influencer rolled into one. For many young believers, his flashy image is not offensive, but aspirational, a living testimony that faith can bring not only salvation, but visible success. Still, the contradictions remain stark. Zimbabwe is a nation where many citizens live on less than a few dollars a day, and yet one of its most famous prophets flaunts wealth that rivals international celebrities. Whether seen as a divine innovator or a manipulator of dreams, Passion Java has redefined what it means to be a pastor in the digital age. His life is not just about sermons, it is the sermon one that continues to polarize audiences worldwide. Apostle Johnson Suleiman. Apostle Johnson Suleiman, the fiery general overseer of Omega Fire Ministries International in Auki, Nigeria, is one of the most polarizing figures in African Pentecostalism. Known for his energetic preaching and restoration by fire crusades, he has built a massive following both at home and abroad. Yet his name is rarely mentioned without controversy, particularly after he openly admitted to owning not one, not two, but 3 private jets. The revelation came during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when millions across Nigeria and around the world were losing jobs and struggling to put food on the table. With stunning candor, Suleiman told his congregation, "I bought my 3rd jet during COVID. I was even praying for COVID not to end because I was resting." That statement, captured on video, went viral instantly. To critics, it sounded tone-deaf and insensitive, a pastor reveling in his own luxury while his people endured hardship. But to his staunch supporters, it was proof of divine favor at work, evidence that God blesses those who remain faithful. This was not Suleiman's first brush with prosperity preaching. Back in 2016, he publicly rejected a private jet that was offered to him, claiming it had impure origins. Yet just a few years later, he was unveiling new jets with glossy promotional videos and congregational celebrations. The apparent contradiction only fueled the perception that he was sliding deeper into the culture of spiritual celebrity, where pastors are judged not by humility, but by the size of their assets. Beyond his jets, Suleiman has long been known for bold declarations. In sermons, he has said, "When you speak in tongues, you print money," framing financial prosperity as a natural extension of spiritual power. He often connects faith with wealth creation, suggesting that miracles and money can flow hand in hand. His services are theatrical, featuring healing prophecy and large-scale offerings that reinforce his image as both a spiritual general and a prosperity icon. Yet the criticism is relentless. Nigerian bloggers, Christian commentators, and even fellow clergymen have questioned how church tithes and offerings align with multi-million-dollar aircraft purchases. They argue that while Suleiman and other prosperity preachers live in opulence, Many of their followers remain trapped in cycles of poverty. Despite this, Suleiman's influence has not diminished. His ministry continues to expand internationally with branches across Africa, Europe, and North America. To his admirers, his jets are not indulgences, but tools essential for a global calling that demands constant travel. To his detractors, they are symbols of misplaced priorities, proof that the prosperity gospel often enriches the preacher more than the people. Either way, Apostle Johnson Suleiman has ensured his place in history as one of the most talked-about pastors of his generation, embodying the tension between faith and fortune in its most extravagant form. Bishop Hezekiah Walker. Bishop Hezekiah Walker, often called the hip-hop pastor, is a figure who stands at the crossroads of gospel celebrity culture and entrepreneurship. Born in Brooklyn, New York, he rose to prominence not only as the pastor of Love Fellowship Tabernacle, but also as a Grammy Award-winning gospel artist whose choirs became legendary. His voice and music shaped the sound of modern gospel, inspiring countless believers, but his lifestyle and business ventures have placed him firmly in the conversation about prosperity and excess. Walker's estimated net worth hovers around $8 million, and unlike many pastors who depend solely on tithes and offerings, his empire is built on multiple revenue streams. His choirs released best-selling albums, he became a sought-after speaker worldwide, and he invested heavily in real estate. Perhaps the boldest example was his involvement in the $80 million Hez Apartments development project in Brooklyn. This massive housing complex was promoted as a way to bring affordable living spaces to his community, a project that blurred the line between social good and financial power. To his supporters, it showed that a pastor could leverage wealth for collective benefit. To his critics, it was still a display of empire building under the cloak of ministry. Walker's image has been carefully crafted. He doesn't appear on stage in modest robes. He's known for tailored designer suits commanding stages with a presence that feels larger than life. His services often feel like celebrity gatherings, attracting names like Diddy, Kanye West, and Lil Kim. Social media and press coverage have shown him boarding luxury charters, hosting global conferences, and presenting himself as both preacher and mogul. While he has never publicly confirmed owning a private jet, his travel style exudes the unmistakable aura of first-class privilege. What makes Walker unique in the prosperity conversation is his unapologetic approach. When asked about his wealth, he doesn't back down or try to minimize it. Instead, he emphasizes that God's blessings should be visible and impactful. He argues that modesty is not always the ultimate goal. Influence and reach matter more. By this reasoning, his music career, housing projects, and lavish public persona are part of a divine assignment. Still, the contradictions are hard to ignore. Gospel at its heart preaches humility and service, yet Walker's ministry often looks more like a red carpet spectacle. For some, this tension undermines his credibility. For others, it confirms that faith, when practiced boldly, can break generational poverty and elevate leaders to heights previously unimaginable. Bishop Hezekiah Walker represents the dual face of prosperity, preaching community uplift on one side, celebrity extravagance on the other. Whether seen as a pioneer or as another pastor entangled in the glitter of wealth, he has built a legacy that forces us to confront the uncomfortable question: can gospel music and ministry remain pure when intertwined so tightly with fame and fortune? Prophet Jeremiah Omoto Fufeyin. Prophet Jeremiah Omoto Fufeyin, often referred to as Omo Womo by his followers, is one of the most extravagant figures in Nigeria's charismatic movement. Born on February 15, 1971, he is the founder and leader of Christ Mercy Land Deliverance Ministry in Warri, Delta State. From humble beginnings, he built his church into a multi-billion naira religious enterprise that includes sprawling auditoriums, satellite branches, television outreach, and commercial ventures ranging from fisheries to hotels. His reputation as a man of miracles is matched only by the headlines surrounding his immense wealth. By most estimates, Prophet Fufeyin's net worth is between $30 million and $40 million USD, a figure that places him in the league of Nigeria's wealthiest pastors. In 2018, reports confirmed that he purchased a Bombardier Challenger 601-3R private jet, valued at around $3 million. He defended the decision publicly, explaining that long international journeys in cramped commercial planes were incompatible with his demanding schedule of crusades and conferences. "Sometimes my schedules are tight," he said, "and with a private jet, it is more convenient." For him, the aircraft was not an indulgence, but a tool for ministry efficiency. Critics, however, argue that such reasoning rings hollow when the majority of his congregation struggles financially. They point out the stark contrast between his luxury lifestyle marked by G-Wagons, Land Cruisers, and custom-plated SUVs, and the poverty faced by many Nigerian Christians who contribute to his ministry through offerings and tithes. Fufeyin, unfazed by these criticisms, insists that every acquisition is aligned with divine purpose and that prosperity is itself a form of testimony. Beyond his private jet, Fufeyin is famous for his generosity, or at least the spectacle of it. Viral videos have shown him gifting Nollywood actresses brand new cars worth millions of naira, showering worshippers with large cash donations, and returning hundreds of millions in tithes during the COVID-19 period. He frequently describes these acts as spiritual sowing, suggesting that giving at such a scale inspires reciprocal blessings from God. To his loyal followers, these grand gestures confirm his role as a conduit of divine favor. To skeptics, they are calculated performances designed to reinforce his image as a prophet of prosperity. He has also been known to market spiritual products like miracle soap and anointed mustard seeds offerings that critics accuse him of exploiting for profit. Defamation lawsuits and accusations of financial mismanagement have followed his ministry, but his public image as a flamboyant prophet remains unshaken. Fufeyin embraces the criticism as proof that his mission is too impactful to go unnoticed. For some, Prophet Jeremiah Omoto Fufeyin represents the dangerous excesses of the prosperity gospel. For others, he is living proof that faith can lift believers into extraordinary abundance. What cannot be denied is his ability to command attention, whether stepping off a private jet, giving away millions, or leading mass deliverance services. He embodies the intersection of wealth, faith, and controversy in modern African Christianity. Prophet Joshua Iginla. Prophet Joshua Iginla, known by many as Brother Joshua, is the founder and senior pastor of Champions Royal Assembly in Abuja, Nigeria. His ministry, which reportedly accommodates more than 80,000 worshippers, is one of the largest in the country. His rise has been marked by high-energy preaching, prophetic declarations, and a global outreach that stretches far beyond Nigeria's borders. But what has kept his name in the spotlight isn't just the size of his church, it's the staggering lifestyle that surrounds it. In 2019, during his lavish birthday celebration, Joshua Iginla stunned the Christian world when he unveiled a multi-billion naira private jet. Unlike pastors who shy away from flaunting wealth, he framed the aircraft not as a personal indulgence, but as a spiritual necessity. According to him, commercial travel was no longer viable for a man of his calling. The gospel must reach the ends of the earth, he said, and speed matters. The roar of applause from his congregation as the jet was revealed only added to the spectacle. For many of his followers, this was proof that God's anointing can manifest in physical abundance. The jet, however, became a lightning rod for criticism. Nigeria is a nation where millions live below the poverty line, surviving on less than $2 a day. How could a preacher sustained by tithes and offerings justify such an extravagant purchase? Commentators in Nigerian media raised questions about accountability and priorities. Was this really a divine investment, or just another example of prosperity preaching taken too far? Despite the backlash, Joshua Iginla remained unshaken. He argued that men of God deserve the best tools to accomplish their missions. To him, the jet symbolized global mobility, an ability to preach in South Africa one day, the United States the next, and Europe the week after. He insisted it was about efficiency, not ego. His supporters echoed this sentiment, seeing the aircraft as a fulfillment of prophetic destiny rather than a misuse of funds. Beyond the jet, Iginla has cultivated an image of a man marked by both prophecy and prosperity. His sermons emphasize faith endurance and sacrificial giving, often tied to promises of financial breakthrough. His ministry has spread internationally, hosting crusades across continents and drawing thousands eager to witness miracles. To many, his life story is one of divine elevation, proof that God raises leaders from obscurity to international prominence. But for his critics, the contradictions remain. Can a man of God who preaches sacrifice truly embody that message while soaring above his flock in a multi-million-dollar jet? Can humility coexist with such visible displays of opulence? Joshua Iginla has never backed down from these questions, insisting that what seems like excess to outsiders is in fact the evidence of God's hand at work. What is certain is that Joshua Iginla has mastered the art of spectacle in ministry. For his followers, he is living proof that faith can move mountains and perhaps even buy jets. For his detractors, he is a symbol of everything troubling about the prosperity gospel. Either way, his name remains etched in the ongoing debate about where faith ends and luxury begins. Bishop Eddie Long. Bishop Eddie Long was one of the most controversial pastors in America, a man who rose from obscurity to lead one of the nation's most influential megachurches, New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Lithonia, Georgia. When he became senior pastor in the 1980s, the congregation numbered just a few hundred. By the early 2000s, under his magnetic leadership and relentless vision, it had swelled to over 25,000 members, making New Birth a spiritual home for celebrities, politicians, and countless African-American families. Long built his empire not just on sermons, but also through best-selling books and international ministries. His estimated net worth was around $5 million, but that number barely scratches the surface of his lifestyle. Between 1997 and 2000, financial records showed that his nonprofit Bishop Eddie Long Ministries, Inc. funneled more than $3 million in compensation and benefits to him. In 1 year alone, he received a $1.4 million six-bedroom mansion on 20 acres of land and a $350,000 Bentley assets he defended as ministry tools. Though he was never confirmed to own a private jet outright, Long frequently traveled by private charter, staying at luxury resorts and attending conferences in a manner that reflected his larger-than-life persona. His Sunday services often resembled star-studded events rather than traditional worship. His message was clear. Prosperity was not something to shy away from, but to embrace as proof of God's blessing. Despite his influence, Long's ministry was rocked by scandals that threatened to overshadow his accomplishments. In 2010, 4 young men from his mentorship program accused him of sexual coercion, claiming he lured them with lavish gifts such as cars, trips, and electronics. Though Long denied the allegations, he eventually settled out of court in 2011. While the settlement contained no admission of guilt, the controversy left an indelible mark on his legacy. Long also came under scrutiny from the U.S. Senate, which investigated several high-profile televangelists for potential abuse of tax-exempt status. While no conclusive wrongdoing was found, the investigation spotlighted the vast wealth flowing into ministries like his. Critics argued that his lavish living stood in stark contrast to the struggles of many in his congregation who faithfully tithed despite economic hardships. Yet for many of his followers, Long's message of empowerment, masculinity, and prosperity resonated deeply. He authored books like 60 Seconds to Greatness, urging believers to pursue transformation boldly. For these supporters, his wealth wasn't hypocrisy, it was proof of divine favor. Bishop Eddie Long's life and ministry embodied the paradox of prosperity preaching. He transformed a small church into a global force, but in doing so blurred the line between faith and fortune. To some, he was a visionary who showed the power of bold belief. To others, he was a cautionary tale of excess and scandal. Even after his passing in 2017, his name continues to spark debates about wealth leadership and the true cost of mixing God with gold. Dr. Juanita Bynum. Dr. Juanita Bynum is one of the most recognized women in Black televangelism, a pastor, author, gospel singer, and entrepreneur who rose to prominence with her groundbreaking No More Sheets sermons and the Woman Thou Art Loosed conferences. For decades, she has commanded stages filled with tens of thousands of women, urging them to pursue healing, empowerment, and transformation. But her legacy is not just about spiritual breakthroughs, it's also about the glittering and often controversial lifestyle that made her a household name. Bynum's estimated net worth has hovered around $10 million, a fortune built from best-selling books, charting gospel albums, speaking engagements, and her company, Juanita Bynum Enterprises. She has been described by some journalists as living at a royalty level, often appearing in designer ensembles and traveling in first-class luxury. Even when evidence of private jet ownership has never been confirmed, her movements, whether for ministry events in the U.S., the Caribbean, or Africa, have long been associated with top-tier travel and accommodations. The most heated debates arose not from her sermons, but from her business strategies. In 2020, Bynum faced arrest in Dallas on civil charges after defaulting on a performance contract owing $140,000 to an event promoter. Critics seized on this as proof of financial mismanagement, yet supporters argued it was simply a legal battle common for high-profile figures. Perhaps more telling was her controversial decision to market prayer kits and coaching tickets priced as high as $1,499. To followers, this was premium access to spiritual mentorship. To skeptics, it was monetizing faith itself. Her brand is undeniably expansive. Bynum's catalog includes best-selling devotionals, theology guides, gospel music, and empowerment conferences that attract thousands. She has performed on major gospel stages, appeared on Christian television networks, and built a reputation as a fiery preacher who combines charisma with theatrical delivery. Her conferences sell out, her books remain popular in Christian circles, and her sermons continue to circulate widely online. But with influence came scrutiny. Conservative theologians criticized her for embracing prosperity-style messaging, pointing to her luxury lifestyle as a contradiction to biblical humility. Some African-American pastors accused her of turning ministry into a stage show. Yet others defend her as a trailblazer, one of the few women in televangelism to carve out global recognition in an industry historically dominated by men. What makes Dr. Juanita Bynum so fascinating is her dual image. To some, she is a living example of divine empowerment, a woman who broke barriers and showed that God's anointing can bring not only spiritual authority, but also financial abundance. To others, she embodies the troubling commercialization of Christianity. But whether seen as prophetess or profiteer, Bynum's presence in the pulpit and beyond has left a lasting mark. Her story forces believers to ask, is wealth the evidence of God's blessing, or proof that the gospel has been turned into big business? Bishop I.V. Hilliard. Bishop I.V. Hilliard, founder of New Light Christian Center Church in Houston, Texas, is one of the most well-known names in American prosperity preaching. Since establishing his ministry in 1984, he has grown it from a modest congregation into a megachurch with multiple campuses and a sprawling membership. Yet it is not just his sermons that have earned him headlines, it's his luxurious lifestyle, complete with multi-million-dollar estates and aircraft, that has placed him squarely in the middle of ongoing debates about faith and fortune. One of his most infamous controversies unfolded in 2013 when Hilliard sent a fundraising letter to members of his church requesting that they contribute a $52 transportation seed. The money, he explained, would be used to replace the blades of his ministry's helicopter, a move he claimed would save the church more than $50,000 in the long run. To sweeten the appeal, the letter promised that donors would experience favor breakthroughs within 52 days or 52 weeks of sowing their seed. For critics, this was the epitome of exploitation, asking working-class believers to sacrifice money for what many considered a luxury toy. Ministry Watch and other watchdog organizations highlighted the sheer scale of his wealth. Hilliard's estate sits on 24 acres, reportedly worth around $15 million, featuring multiple houses, resort-style pools, barns, a private lake, and even its own airstrip. To many, this lifestyle raised serious questions about how tax-exempt status was being used to fund extravagance rather than serving communities in need. Hilliard defended his actions by saying the letter was only intended for special partners familiar with the church's financial principles. He argued that the aviation department had been active since 1995, serving 6 church campuses, and that private aircraft were essential for ministry outreach. Still, the optics of a millionaire bishop asking for $52 donations from ordinary believers struck many as deeply problematic. To his followers, however, Bishop Hilliard's lifestyle is proof that biblical prosperity works. They see his estate, his aircraft, and his global ministry as evidence of God's promises fulfilled. To his critics, he embodies the commercialization of faith. Either way, his story has become one of the defining examples of how the prosperity gospel can both inspire devotion and ignite outrage. Prophet Wibert Angel. Prophet Wibert Angel, born Wibert Mudzanayer in Zimbabwe, is another towering figure in the prosperity gospel movement, known internationally as a preacher, entrepreneur, and self-styled prophet to the nations. He is the founder of Spirit Embassy, the Good News Church, a ministry with branches in over 70 countries. Angel has branded himself not only as a spiritual leader, but also as a businessman, real estate investor, and philanthropist. His blend of flashy lifestyle and bold prophecies has made him both admired and criticized across Africa and abroad. Like many prosperity preachers, Angel has been closely associated with luxury. He is frequently photographed stepping out of Lamborghinis, Bentleys, and Rolls-Royces, often surrounded by an entourage. His properties span across Zimbabwe, South Africa, and the United Kingdom, where he has promoted himself as a savvy businessman, as well as a man of God. Angel has openly taught that prosperity is a sign of divine favor, declaring that Christians should not settle for mediocrity when God has promised abundance. His influence extends beyond the pulpit. Angel has served in Zimbabwe as a presidential envoy and ambassador at large, giving him political as well as religious clout. This dual identity prophet and diplomat has further fueled debates about where his loyalties truly lie. Supporters praise his humanitarian efforts, including scholarships, food distributions, and donations to the poor. Critics, however, argue that these gestures are overshadowed by the opulence he flaunts, questioning how such extravagance aligns with the teachings of humility and sacrifice. Scandals have also followed his name. Investigations into alleged financial impropriety and money laundering schemes have repeatedly surfaced in the media, though Angel often dismisses these reports as fabrications designed to discredit him. Despite the controversy, his following continues to grow, particularly among young believers drawn to his message that faith should translate into tangible success. Prophet Wibert Angel embodies the contradictions of the prosperity gospel in the 21st century. He is at once a preacher, a politician, a businessman, and a celebrity, a man who insists that Christians can and should aspire to the highest levels of wealth and influence. Whether admired as a trailblazer or condemned as a profiteer, Angel's story illustrates the powerful allure and the deep divisions of mixing ministry with material success. Some see these preachers as visionaries, others as opportunists draped in holy robes. The line between ministry and money has never been blurrier, with private jets, Bentleys, and multi-million-dollar estates redefining what it means to serve God. For their followers, these leaders embody divine favor. For critics, they are living proof that faith can be manipulated for profit. The real question isn't whether pastors can live like kings, but whether they should. So tell us, when does prosperity become exploitation? Drop your thoughts below. Your voice fuels the conversation on Legends of Black Excellence.